Hey, good Tuesday morning, everybody. Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here. Let's get right to the details on what is going to be probably a significant severe weather outbreak for parts of Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, maybe Arkansas and Tennessee, and then what that system pushes to the east. More and more, I'm not as concerned for the Carolinas, and I'll explain that in our vlog today. But first, let's start with what's happening right now. You can kind of see the system diving through the middle of the country. This warm front and this surge of moisture coming through the southern plains into the lower Mississippi River Valley is the key part of all this. So this is the moisture that's going to really be where the storms develop, but this is the upper level energy coming down from the northwest. Pretty potent upper level energy. In fact, if I switch over to the water vapor loop, I'll let this play a couple times. You can kind of see this piece of energy coming down, and the southern jet stream, the southern branch of the jet stream subtropical is punching in here. So we're getting up two pieces of energy. Basically, the subtropical jet stream is coming here. The polar jet streams dive in here. They're going to phase briefly here. The system's going to split again as it pushes to the east. So all the action is kind of centered right here in the middle of your map. And that's why you're seeing that risk for severe weather so high there. So let's get right to that risk of severe weather. We'll go to day one first. That's where we're looking at the highlight for severe weather. You can see low risk all the way up to Indianapolis, but there's really this significant area highlighted here around Jackson, Mississippi, kind of central and southern Mississippi. And that's actually where we're going to probably see the highest risk of tornadoes today as well. We look at the probability of tornadoes, you can see 2, 5, 10, 15% or higher. And that's a significant area of tornadoes, probably significant tornado right there. That's the outline for the significant tornado possibility. So that's the area we're watching. So that's today, right? Obviously, that's the threat today. We'll be monitoring all afternoon. So pushing to the east. Remember yesterday, we had a low risk up into the Charlotte area in North Carolina, but now it's from the Midlands to South Carolina south. And there's a pretty good reason for that because we're probably going to be too stable up here to see the ingredients come together. There were really strong hints of this yesterday, and we're seeing more and more of that today. So let's get right to the Futurecast. Futurecast already has our scattered showers developing there across the lower Mississippi Valley. We'll go to about 3, 4 o'clock this afternoon. This is where things get interesting. I don't think anything to worry about up here. It's these storms right here around Greenville, Jackson, Meridian, back to Alexandria, even Shreveport. Some of these could crank up early in parts of Louisiana and then push east. And if you look, there looks to be some supercells in here from Tupelo to Greenville. This is all pushing east. And this is 6 o'clock Eastern time, by the way. We'll go through time that continues to develop east. So yeah, there's definitely going to be some really strong rotating supercells. We go into the overnight hours and things start to push east. And as you look up to the north, yeah, there could be some strong storms here, but what I'm interested in is this right here. This just looks like a big shield of rain. We're going to have northeast winds, maybe easterly winds. So this is going to be kind of a little bit of a hybrid wedge, kind of a cool, stable air mass. So really not a significant threat for severe weather, but you look to the south where the warm, humid air, that's likely where we're going to see more of a threat. So this is 6 a.m. tomorrow. Pretty heavy rain moving through the Charlotte area. Again, if there's going to be a strong gusty wind, it's going to be in these storms right here, not so much up here. As they push east, just because they won't be surface-based. And what I mean by that is there could be instability aloft, but to get severe weather down to the ground, you need the warm, humid air to be near the surface, and that just won't be the case based on the current trends. By 8 a.m., it's pushing east, and by the middle of the day, we could be totally cleared out and seeing sunny skies develop. So kind of like Sunday, we woke up to all that downpours before the Panthers game, and then it all moved out. One thing that's interesting, and I'm going to look at the dew point temperatures here as well, it kind of show you how this unfolds here, and I'm gonna pause it. We'll back it up. The low level humidity or dew points, that's really where the fuel for storms come from. And if you look, we'll go through this afternoon, you can see that kind of wedge or that triangle. That's where the potent air mass is for severe weather. Look at over the Carolinas. We're kind of dry, and even if we go into tonight, the severe weather is ongoing to our west. We'll go to tomorrow morning. I'll stop this at 5 a.m. There's not much here. I mean, dew points are in the 40s, even in the 50s in Columbia. You got to get down here before you get 60-degree dew points. One of the kind of rules of thumb for meteorologists is, to get thunderstorms, you need dew points at least generally in the 55 or higher range, and even that's not great, but 60s are primarily what I look for severe weather. If you look through tomorrow, yeah, that the surge tries to make it up to the state line, but it never really quite gets here. By the time it gets here, the front is pushing through. Another parameter you can look at, obviously, is CAPE, and that's basically that thunderstorm fuel. Let's quickly look at that. So this is CAPE, or what we refer to on TV. You often hear me say it's thunderstorm fuel. You don't really have to know that what it is. In fact, it's just the higher the number, the more fuel. The scales up here at the top, and if you get 500 or higher this time, your joules per kilogram. But we're pretty potent. You're pretty going to have enough fuel, I should say, for thunderstorms. But when you start seeing thousands, that's a lot. So you see that big plume. I mean, that is a lot of CAPE or thunderstorm fuel driving up into Louisiana and Mississippi. But look at over the Carolinas. It just never really quite gets up here. We get a little bit. That's why we could see some elevated thunder, but just not a bunch in there. So that's a good sign for the Carolinas. Another thing to look at, and you've seen me show this before, and this is the tornado parameter. This is the ingredients for tornadic storms. And you can see that big plume coming up through Mississippi today. Louisiana, I think this back here, we're going to notice early if we see storms developing here in Louisiana, they're going to track northeast. That's where the action's really going to start. And then moving into central Mississippi and maybe even Alabama. And then look as it pushes east, kind of all falls apart. In that same vein, you can look at the what we call the updraft helicity tracks, basically rotation tracks. Where does the storm's updraft rotate? And these tracks can be plotted. And you could see, I don't look for where they are specifically, like the exact path. What I primarily look for is how many of them are. And you see a big cluster right in this area. And oh, by the way, that kind of lines up exactly where our significant tornado parameter was, if you remember that. Let's go back, the significant tornado area that we were looking at on the map earlier. So you look at that right there, where all those tracks are. Then let's go back here. That's where the significant tornado outline is. So that tells you that's the area for focus today. So we'll keep a close eye on this. The day 2 significant tornado parameter, there's nothing there. If we look at the tornado probabilities for day 2, this is for Wednesday, nothing over the Carolinas. There's a small 2% chance down there. So of course, we'll keep a close eye on this today. I'll post updates, but if you have friends or family, boy, back here, in these areas across the Mid-South, the lower Mississippi River Valley, make sure they're weather aware today. We could see some really strong tornadoes develop this afternoon into this evening.